So, 2007 Honda Civic. Running really rough. Parked it for a while. When I get back in, it just doesn't want to start and run very well. So, my first thought was battery connections, but I had replaced these not too long ago, and they don't look too bad. I did run my battery down a little bit because of trying to start it and it not running, starting it, trying. But I put my tester on there and hooked my tester up, and it gave me a code P0302, P0300, P0304. And those codes are telling me that the P0302 tells me that cylinder 2 is having problems. P0304 is telling me that cylinder 4 is having a problem. So I'm misfiring on 2 cylinders, right? So I only have 4 cylinders, so half of my cylinders are just not firing very well. And if you see down in there is the spark plug, right? So it's kind of hard to focus, but you can see the spark plug down in there. So these things are what they call little coils, ignition coils, right? So the computer sends the signal, right, to each one of these into this coil, which and then fits down on top of the spark plug down there to send electrical signal, right, down there to cause a spark on the spark plug, to cause the fuel and air mixture in the cylinder to ignite, right? So it's not doing it on 2 of them. So that one is this one that I pulled off, and I'm going to show you. Of course, this part fits down in there on top of that spark plug, and that's where the wires come in. Inside here's a coil, and then this part right here fits onto the top of the spark plug. But what happens on these things is, over time, right, the engine gets hot, right, and then it cools off. Well, during the cold winter months, which a lot of you will realize if you have these Hondas, that, you know, you go from extremely cold weather, right, starting your car and it warms up and it gets hot as you're using it, right? You turn it off, it sits, and it gets very, very cold again. Well, what happens to these things is, you see that crack right there? You can see the crack in it. These things get cold, and then they get hot, and then they get cold, and then they get hot. And over time, they crack. Well, what happens is, that crack opens up, right? And it allows the spark, instead of going from this coil down to the top of the spark plug, to get that good spark down in there, to ignite that air and fuel mixture, right, to move that cylinder, right? Instead, it goes out this crack, and it goes where? You see the metal on the side there? The metal of the engine? The metal of the head of the engine? That spark, instead of going to that spark plug, shoots out that crack, or multiple cracks in this case. Right, there's a few cracks on here, but that's definitely an obvious crack. They're not always obvious. Sometimes they're so thin that you can't even tell they're there. This is an absolute obvious crack on here. So that electrical spark is flying out the side, going and hitting that metal right there on the side there, instead of the spark plug. So it's misfiring. It's not doing it. So it's doing it on this cylinder and this cylinder, according to you know, what I was seeing on the tester thing. So I have to go. I'm going to go buy 2 of these. I'll go to O'Reilly's Auto Parts and I'll get 2 of them, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to replace the 2 that are bad, so that I can get a good spark on my spark plugs, so that I get good ignition through all 4 of my cylinders. And this one's definitely one of the older ones, because you can tell you know, the look of them. So those with the lighter blue are the newer ones, and this is one of the older ones. So this one did probably lasted the lifetime of the engine. Maybe, I don't know. I've replaced a couple of those at times. But that's what I'm going to do in order to fix the problem I've got. But if you notice, there's also like oil everywhere. So I've got an oil leak that I need to take care of, and that oil leak looks like it's coming from the valve cover. The valve cover gasket needs replaced. So I'm going to go ahead and purchase a valve cover gasket. Take that valve cover off, clean it up, replace that gasket, put it all back together, replace these two things, make sure my oil is topped off, and I do eventually need to change this oil, but I'll get the oil topped off and check all the rest of my fluids, and then this car will be good to go. Alright, talk to you later, alligators. Hey, make a comment and let me know what you think. What kind of experiences have you had with your Honda Civic? Or any other car for that matter, as far as it goes with the ignition coils flaking out on you. Alright, talk to you later.